Hello, everybody. Just waiting to see who's around. I know it takes a couple of seconds for people to join normally. And it is Easter Monday, so I'm aware that not many people will be around. Hello, hello. Hi, Kel. So I told myself this morning I'm not going to do a live today because I had a shower and I put on comfy clothes because, don't have any plans to go anywhere. I thought, I don't have any makeup on, I haven't done my hair. I'm in, moccasins, tracky dacks, a hoodie, and I thought, well, you know what? This is me right now. This is many of us right now, and I'm not going to jump on here with makeup on and my hair all done and fancy clothes and make everyone feel like crap. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Tanya. So, this is me. This is how I look at the moment. Hi, Ali. I'm on here for two reasons. First of all, I'm here because I'm answering a question. Hi, Suzanne. Every day is a comfy clothes day now, isn't it ever? Zoe, oh my God, all my favourite people are here. Wow, I actually feel really moved. I feel a bit emotional about it. I'm here to answer a question that a parent has sent in about PDA, but I'm also here because I really want to connect with my community. I really want to connect with my community of parents. The COVID-19 look. This is probably not a secret for my autistic kin, but this is the autism look for me. If it was socially acceptable to just get around like this forever, this would be me. Oh, it would so be me. And until I cut my hair off, it was just in a top knot on top of my head all the time. Anyway, I wanted to reach out and I wanted to connect with parents and carers and families because I know there are so many of us who, let's be real, we're having a really hard time right now. And I think being positive is fantastic, but I think being real is fantastic too. And, oh boy, it's tough stuff and it changes from one moment to the next. So I'm in a situation where I'm having to put a lot of things on hold at the moment. I came out here today. Today would be a work day for me, and one of my little people just really wanted to be with me. So they came out here with me, and then it didn't work out well. Our children are really struggling right now. So many of our children are really struggling with anxiety and fear and that uncertainty. And for autistic people, uncertainty can be terrifying. Even when we're in our own homes, even when we do have familiarity with our folks, with our siblings, with our carers, it might be fun to be at home for a bit. It might be great to have the pressure taken off and not have to go to school or to be able to work from home. But it gets a bit much after a while. And I know we as a family are consistently working on putting together a loose, extremely flexible plan so that all our needs are being met. So for me as a mum, I love my children more than life, but I need a lot of downtime and I need a lot of quiet time and I need a lot of time to myself. And this is really hard because my children are really anxious at the moment, so they need a lot of me. And so I'm constantly working on making sure that I have enough of me to share with them. And that's not always working out. I wanted to be here because I wanted to say to my community, if you lost your shit today, if you yelled, if you had a meltdown, if you threw something, if you swore, if you did anything that makes you feel like you are now less than, I just want to say, me too. Me too 1,000 times. This is not easy for anybody, let alone our families, you know, with kids on the spectrum or kids who are anxious or kids with a PDA profile or ADHD. Holy crap, man. I need my brain to be busy. But that's something else that I have to put aside at the moment because my children need more of me because they're more anxious at the moment. And this is how I look, because this is what's easy and this is what's comfortable. And I really just want to extend so much love to all of you out there, because we're all doing our very best. And when we have those moments where we lose it, I just want to tell you that if I were with you and you lost it, I want you to have so much unconditional love and understanding and acceptance for yourself, the same amount that we extend to our children. Because yes, our children are struggling and so are we. It's painful to hear our children crying. It's painful to bear witness to meltdowns. It's so painful for us. So the only way that we can move forward when we have these moments that we give ourselves a hard time about is to just, God, show ourselves some bloody kindness. This is full on at the moment. And I am definitely having a tough time. Definitely. There is not going to be a family out there who's just cruising through this. Marriages and relationships will be strained. I don't know how much time you people can spend with your partner without resenting them. Joking, not joking. So there's a whole range of things that, you know, we're working through, and it's a lot. It's a lot, especially for us autistic people who need to just put on our headphones and go to another room, or listen to music, or shove our face in a book, whatever it is that we do to get some downtime. A lot of us as parents, we're not being able to access that at the moment because our children need us more than ever. Okay, so just lots of love for everybody. The second part of why I'm doing a live is because I'm here to answer a question that somebody posed the other day, and it is about PDA, but it's not exclusive to PDA. It's probably more common in children with pathological demand avoidance, although this is quite common for many children, but especially autistic children. Why do we try and get a rise out of people? What is our payoff, I think was the question. And I can only speak for myself as an adult who is autistic, ADHD and demand avoidant. And this continues into adulthood. A lot of the things that mean that we fit the criteria for our diagnosis, they don't go away. We don't grow out of autism. We don't get better. We don't go through early intervention and then we're indistinguishable from our peers. I know that everybody in the professional world will have you believe that, but we still contend with the same challenges we have as children in different ways, in very different ways. So why do we target people in order to get a rise out of them? When we are PDAs, Inherently what we're driven by is this incessant, consistent, extreme need for autonomy and freedom. Most people would reword that as an excessive need for control. So the way that it plays out is it looks as though we are exercising excessive control over people, places and things. When we're children, usually we pick out one person, usually one of our parents, and they are the person we try and control the most. Whilst it appears that way, and that's how it's perceived and received by adults, especially if you are a parent who's in that position with your child, we don't see it that way. What's happening for us is that we're absolutely terrified on the inside, and so we're clinging on for dear life. We're terrified of being abandoned, rejected. We're terrified when our mother leaves the lounge room, we think that she's never coming back. This is because in a PDA brain, our threat response is activated all of the time. So I talk a lot about having strategies that we use to calm down the anxiety and the threat response in children with a demand avoidant profile. The reason that we would target another person, now when I say target, I understand the question that this parent has asked me, and what they mean is, why do you treat somebody badly or push their buttons or go for the jugular in order to get a reaction? It's not that it's fun for us. There are two reasons why this might happen that I can think of based on my experience as a PDA and as a parent of PDAs. The first is that we're seeking connection. And we know when we're children, when we're too much for people. We know, we read the energy of other people if they think we talk too much, we're too active, we think too much, we feel too much, we say too much. We read into this and we pick it up energetically, and we know how people feel about us. So imagine having this underlying current of feeling rejected and inadequate and hypersensitive to the energy of everybody around us. So when people aren't doing so well, we think it's our fault. When people are angry, we think we caused that. When people are sad, we think we caused that. When people are happy, we don't actually think we caused that, but we pay close attention and wonder how we can cultivate that again another time, because we're people pleasers by nature. And people will hear that and think, well, how can you be people pleasers if you want to target us? And again, it's about seeking connection. So you might notice that if you have a child with a PDA profile, there's no way in hell you can make a phone call without being interrupted. There's no way you can have a friend over to the house and sit down and have a chat without your little person interfering or putting on a dance show or just coming up with any kind of engagement they can to get your attention. This is because the fear that wells up inside of us that we're being abandoned creates this horrific sense of anxiety. I always say this, it's so important with children who are demand avoidant or highly anxious to separate the child from their brain, because this isn't a conscious process. Constantly interrupting is the brain's way, when that fight or flight, freeze or fawn is activated, of telling our bodies, telling our minds, this is what we need to do. We need to employ this strategy to get this person's attention back now. Because in our minds as children, we think we're being rejected and abandoned. So we will consistently interrupt. And then when that doesn't work, we're likely to say something like, you're a dickhead, to our parents, or throw something at them, or do something that people would understand as incredibly inappropriate and unacceptable behaviour. This is an extreme form of panic and anxiety and fear, and us trying to gain access to the person that helps us to feel more comfortable. The other reason that we might engage in targeting people is because of what we call compensation. So there may have been an incident where we feel we lost some of our control or gave up some of our control. So we have to frantically find a way to get that control back. Sometimes this is a conscious process, sometimes it isn't. Hi Jay, my bestie just joined. An example of that might be, I might be in a classroom. I might be a 10-year-old child in a classroom with a PDA profile. I am working on this piece of work. There's no way in hell I'm going to put my hand up and ask for help, but I'm really, really struggling, and I can see I'm in a position now where I do have to ask for help. So I put my hand up and I ask the teacher for help, and the teacher comes over and gives me help. And I hate every minute of it because as a PDA, I do not want my learning process to be interfered with. I'm autodidactic by nature, which means my learning is self-led. I will find out what I need to find out, when and how I like. And if I'm interested in something, being autistic means I'm more than likely to become an expert in something that I'm passionate about. So the teacher has helped me, and now I have this gross, insidious, whole body consuming experience of feeling out of control. I've given up my control when I ask for help. When I let another person help me, I had to make myself vulnerable. I felt stupid, and now I feel like I have to do something to get some form of control back. Even if it's an illusion, my brain will be desperate to have me feeling like I'm in control again. So, hi Kylie, I might pick up a water bottle, and throw it at little Johnny's head across the room in my classroom. And that will make absolutely no sense to anybody else. Other people on the outside will look in and go, why did this child who was one second ago engaged in their work, who just got help from the teacher, who seemed to be doing fine, why on earth would they then pick up a water bottle and throw it at little Johnny's head across the room? And the answer is because I'm seeking control. And that is something that will happen in a myriad of ways. And one of the ways we gain control back is to go for the jugular with the people that are closest to us. So we might say awful things to our parents. We might, just do something that is so hard for other people to fathom or to understand, but there is what our brain believes a really important functioning going on at that time. And unfortunately, when we're children, we don't even understand what's going on. We're driven by a neurobiological process to engage in this behaviour that's going to have us rejected and abandoned. So it's this vicious cycle. We fear being rejected and abandoned, but our behaviour that we engage with in order to prevent that happening causes people to say, I no longer feel safe with you, I'm moving away. And then we'll jump up and down and panic and say, no, don't leave me. So that is why we do that. Does anybody have any questions? Sitting here in my hoodie, no makeup, hair everywhere. Don't think I've even brushed my hair today. Imagine the queues when the hairdressers open again. I am so there. I am so there. Any questions before I take off? Autodidactic, that is a new term for me and so perfectly describes me. Thank you. You are so welcome, Heather. It is something that describes most autistic people. We direct our own learning and don't really enjoy taking the lead of other people. I know I have a little bit of lag, so if anybody has any questions and they're typing them out, I'm just going to wait a second because I'll often log off. Oh, Jay, autodidactic means self-led in our learning. So, you know, it's not just a PDA thing, it's an autistic thing for many of us. Like, if I go and sit in a classroom and I'm told what I need to learn, when I need to learn it, how I need to learn it, and the information taught to me is pretty much controlled by somebody else, I'm not going to be interested in that at all. I'm going to really struggle to learn that way. So the way that the autistic brain works as organically problem seeking and problem solving is that we'll take an interest in something, and they might be really strange interests. Like, an example for me was watching something on TV the other day about a particular culture, and I was fascinated by the culture, so off I went and did all this research and learned pretty much everything there is to know about this particular culture. And now you could ask me anything about the culture because I know everything about it. That's how the autistic brain works. It takes in every possible piece of information there is on offer when we're interested in something and when we direct it ourselves. How can I explain to her brother why she can tolerate him now, but how to prepare for when she can't? Yeah, that's a really great question, Katie, and a really common question. So I think there's two aspects here, and one is it's important for our children to know how their brains work. It's important for us to start exposing them even to dribs and drabs of information around neurodivergence, whether they be autistic or PDA or ADHD. Identity is so important. And so many parents will ask me, when should I tell them, or should I tell them? Definitely, I think we have a right to know who we are, because autism is central to my being. It influences how I think, how I feel, how I move my body, how I eat. Everything about me is influenced by having an autistic brain. However, before we start to teach our children about how their brain works, we need to cultivate positive identity, positive autistic identity. So I can understand why many families are hesitant to tell their children they're autistic if they're surrounded by a narrative that is doom and gloom about autism, or their children are teenagers and go to school where everybody, you know, makes fun of autistic people or has a really yucky perspective on difference. But it's important for us to know who we are, to understand ourselves, because that's the only way we can develop a toolkit for coping as we age. And the second part for siblings is to understand disability and to understand when our siblings have challenges. And PDA is an invisible disability. And sometimes autism is an invisible disability. Most people would meet me and think, I mean, people have said this, you're delusional, you're switched on, you've got a great sense of self, you articulate really well. But that's almost one of the criteria for autism, because behind the scenes there's a whole heap of other things that I really struggle with, that I need support with. So having a really good understanding about disability and what that looks like in our family and how to prepare ourselves. It's hard for our siblings because I find a lot of our PDA children, their siblings are so desperate to engage with them and love spending time with them and seeing them happy, which is such a beautiful thing. However, they're often sometimes resistant to moving away from them. Simon, let's acknowledge some autistic adults like myself are thriving at the moment with reference to the relative chaos of the entire world at large. Hence, some of us are living on a level playing field for the first time ever. Totally. I could not agree more, Simon. There are so many things that I could say about that. It's a really great point. So Simon's talking about how many autistic people, for the first time in our lives, we're on an even keel at the moment with the rest of the world, because usually society is geared toward neuronormative standards where non-autistic people are able to do all these things and thrive and feel happy, and we're kind of always seeking support. And I think a lot of people have been upset throughout this process, and I'm one of them included, is that for generations, the disabled community and autistic people, as because I'm autistic, I can only really speak to that, have been asking for the very accommodations that were made like that in the last few weeks. Being asked, asking to be able to work from home, trying to figure out homeschooling, so many accommodations have just been granted to most of the population all over the world that the disabled community have been asking for decades and decades. So you could understand that there might be a sense of resentment and anger, because it is quite an injustice. Just reading the comments. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to sign off because I've been speaking for nearly half an hour. Thank you everybody for being here, and sending lots of love to everybody. Take care of yourself. Show yourself some compassion and love and understanding, because you deserve it and you're worth it. And I will see you again soon. Bye.